Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't afraid to do stuff. I got caught up in the middle of something there. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I was like, Fred, something will come to me. And I was like, I haven't been on stage an awful lot lately. I don't think I got that sharp crowd work brain going. But I'm just ready to go.
We'll trim all this out in post. Don't you worry about it. You want to take another run at it, that's fine.
The most heavily edited podcast in non-podcasting entertainment world. Shit. Okay. Yeah. See, I was like, I don't know where my head's at lately. I probably need to do some kind of neurological testing. I don't think I'm out in the world enough. I used to talk to a lot of people. Now it's like 6.
It's it's been a big adjustment for a lot of us over the past several years. There's been a number of events that have led us to spend a lot of time at home. I don't know if anybody's heard.
I haven't. This has all been a conscious choice.
I'm taking advice from the internet and going out to occasionally touch grass.
Ah.
It's been nice.
That sounds like really good advice.
Yeah. It's been nice.
I mean, I have to take my dog out a lot, so I kind of do that every day. But yeah, I hear you. It's important.
Yeah.
That's what's kept me so healthy and fresh.
Mm.
When people are looking at me and going, yeah, he's crushing it. I got to do more of the stuff he's doing. That's one of the things.
Mike, you were grass adjacent just last night.
I was. First Red Sox game of the season, baby.
Woohoo.
Woohoo indeed.
Also a woohoo, resounding woohoo from.
Well, his name is Dewey.
Dewey's a huge AL East fan.
Oh yeah. No, we did. We got through 6 innings and then we actually had to bail.
That was cold last night.
It was really windy.
Ooh.
Kyle was really excited, but it was every Red Sox game this year. Thank God for the new rules, because they're still moving, they're still taking a while. Well, every other game has been cut down to 2:30, 2:20. Every Red Sox game is still 3 hours. So we're there, and it's taken a while, and it's windy, and it's a school night, and at some point Kyle was like, are we staying for the whole game? And I was like, no, buddy, it's totally okay. We can bail and listen to the end in the car. And that's what we did. But very, very fun game. Love the seats. Extremely well located. And pace of play, man. What a big difference. It is great. Catch the ball, throw the ball. Hit the ball, throw the ball. Fabulous.
I am so excited. I've been kind of knee deep in rehearsal, so I haven't had a ton of time to just sit and watch a game. I'm so looking forward to both the televised full game experience, which I've had a little bit in a few innings here and there, but the live experience is really what I'm looking forward to.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. We'll drag Tookie to at least one game this year.
Yes.
It'll happen. It will happen.
I'm super excited to see some live shenanigans. I'm usually playing a show outside, right next door to Fenway, and never in Fenway. So
there you go.
It'll be good to be in the building.
We'll get you inside. Now, have you been inside Fenway before?
Yes.
Okay, you have been to a game.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're knee deep in the middle of everything Tookie has not experienced. So things that she has done, I need reminders of. Yeah. Should we announce now, or should we wait for the end?
We can do it either way. I'm good either way.
All right.
Let's wait for the end.
Let's hold for the end. We'll hold for the end. All right.
This is, like you said, this is not an episode that warrants a great deal of investigation.
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to scoot right through season 3, episode 22, The Godfather Part 3, which feels like it's essentially, we've got an A story and a B story, and they're both borrowed from 78 other sitcoms that have done this before. Just a very, hey, can we, it's a leftovers episode. So it feels like we cobbled together everything that everyone else has had into a casserole, and here you go.
So I wasn't completely off base thinking oh my God, this episode is kind of mid.
No, it's mid.
Okay.
No, mid's a little kind, truthfully. It was really like, especially after the Hall of Fame episode that it's following.
I know.
It was tough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where you're just going, man, everything in this is really recycled.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a new writing team, or at least a new writing team for this season, I think. Who is it? It's I've got it in front of me. Chris Cluess and Stuart Kreisman, who it's their first episode this season, and I think it's their first credited episode of Cheers so far. And it does have a feeling of like we brought some guys in to kind of pull something together because we're the main story editors are kind of like shaping the season, and this feels like a sort of like little jug handle on the side.
Yeah. All right, let's delve into this. Dave, what was happening when we got whacked with this jug handle?
This premiered on March 19th, 1987, the same day. We've talked a little bit about in previous episodes about the AIDS crisis that's looming in America. March 19th is the day that AZT is approved by the FDA as the first drug treatment for AIDS. Okay. And it's the subject of a pretty controversial, super, I don't want to say haphazard, but a very rushed kind of study, which still has a lot of sort of moral questions to this day about how it was conducted. You can read about it. It's an interesting kind of sidebar. AZT proves to be a fairly effective treatment for AIDS patients, and to the point where it's still a part of treatment cocktails to this day. It's really the kind of landmark drug that sort of that transformed AIDS from the scourge that it was to something that is manageable. And living in this current COVID world, it was interesting to see the timeline of AIDS taking 7 or 8 years really to come up with an effective drug treatment to where we are now. But still, some of the same issues remain with regards to getting those drugs into people as quickly as possible and in as equitable a way as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. It's funny coming from the theater era that Dave and I did, where it felt like most of the theater that we were doing, or a big chunk of it, was reflective of playwrights who had come of age during the AIDS crisis. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how things have changed from the beginning to that time that Dave and I were young adults in the theater and then now that it has become certainly still serious, but a manageable thing that people are living their lives with.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
Yeah. If anybody has a chance to see the play The Inheritance by Matthew Lopez, it's a really interesting kind of coda to that era. It's looking at gay life, gay male life in the present day, and AIDS is very much a part of that life, but not certainly the defining specter that it was for the plays of like Larry Kramer and folks like that who were responding, and Harvey Firestein at the time.
And even brilliant work by Tony Kushner. I mean, the Angels in America, filled with hope and brilliant stuff, but also very much, hey, if you've got this, you've got to make your peace with the world. Mm-hmm. That's still a theme in that. So yeah, very different. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. And if you got HBO Max, kind of the film that I feel like was a real touchstone for straight people with the AIDS crisis was Then the Band Played On. And that's still, I think, a movie that really holds up well, just about the AIDS crisis, the very beginnings of it, how it kind of got out of control. And it was big because like a lot of big Hollywood stars attached their names to it and, played small parts in it. It was almost like an old 70s Bible movie where it's like John Wayne's playing the centurion at the crucifixion, where it's like Steve Martin is just in it for 2.5 minutes. But it was a big deal because like, oh, Steve Martin's in this and everybody's in this. And I feel like that was a point where like suddenly my parents thought about the AIDS crisis differently after that movie had come out. So, and I think it's a movie that's held up pretty well. So check that out. Tookie, have you ever seen And the Man Played On?
I have not.
She has not. And the streak continues.
To be fair, I haven't seen the film. I read the Randy Shilts book, but I have not seen the film yet.
Dave, you never saw that film?
No, I've seen bits of it, but I never read it. I mean, I never saw it.
Yeah, really, really great movie. Very, very well done. Very well told. All right, Tookie, can you tell us about this week's cold opening?
I guess that was a little bit of foreshadowing. All right. Cold open. Short. I don't know if it's sweet. So we enter to the bar, and Diane's a little glum. She goes, "Well, I'm off, Sam. 6th row center, the Royal Shakespeare Company. I still have that extra ticket if you change your mind." And Sam's like, "I just don't like that stuff. All the guys jumping around, stabbing each other in their leotards, and I'm sorry, I'm not into it." And Diane's like, "All right, fine, I'll go alone." And Carla butts in and she's like, "Oh, you're leaving early?" And Diane's like, "Yeah, I'm going to a play." And Carla's like, "Oh, well, fine, then I'll just stay here and work my butt to the bone while the boss's fiance takes another day off." Which, like, great point on Carla's part, honestly. And Sam's like, "Oh, well, we're not that busy around here. Why don't you go to the play with Diane?" And Diane's kind of like excited a little bit, like, "Oh yeah, how about it, Carla? We rarely do things together." And Carla's like, "Oh, we don't do anything together." And Diane's trying to encourage her, like, "Oh, it'll be fun. It'll broaden your horizons." And Carla's like, "Well, are you saying I'm going to get the afternoon off?" Afternoon? Jesus, what are the hours? "I'm going to get the afternoon off if I go to the play with Bleach Bag over here." And Sam's like, "Well, only if you go with Bleach Bag." So Carla's like, "All right, come on, I'll bring the pork rinds, you bring the beers. We're going to make spitwads out of the programs." And upon hearing this, Diane turns to Al at the bar and hands him the other ticket and says, "Here, take this, follow her, enjoy." And Al is like, "All right," and follows her and includes the line that is my misogyny of the week, which is, "Hey, honey, wait up." Roll credits.
Good times. By the way, I love that there is absolutely no difference between, "Hey, we're slammed in here and it's not that busy in here," in terms of the actual number of people. There is never a discernible difference in the number of extras in Cheers at any given time.
It makes no
when
sense.
They are, absolutely jammed. And when it's not that busy in here, you can take off. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. It is a constant. All right, let's get into the meat of this story, such as it is. Let's get into the spam of this story. We've got a B story that is barely there. It is weather thin. We've got Frasier's anniversary with Lilith is coming up, and he purchased her an armoire, seemingly just to set Woody up for some jokes.
Yeah.
Which were not bad jokes. I did enjoy them. I'm not going to lie. I did enjoy that little bit of vaudeville between them.
That little run was nice.
Yeah. And, if we're voting for misogyny of the week, what woman doesn't want a nice chest is right up there.
That's definitely a misogyny of the week.
Yeah.
That reminded me of an actual exchange I remember verbatim from my middle school shop class, which is one of the other 7th graders talking about the project she was going to work on, and she announced, "I would like a chest like Yvette's, for sweaters and stuff." I've never forgotten that moment. Like it was too crystalline to even laugh then.
And the shop teacher was panicked.
Yeah, I think he just laid down and died at that moment.
Like I'm about to do. Cool. Cool. Wow.
So he's gotten her an armoire, and he has left around a ton of suggestions that what he actually wants is a new set of golf clubs. Which I feel like this was written by people who have never seen Frasier before. Like, I don't think Frasier has ever referenced golf after this. His lack of athletic prowess is mentioned multiple times, and somehow this Frasier desperately needs a new rack of golf clubs. And he's leaving all the clues around about it. He ends up getting a tie, and he hates it. And that's my B story.
My joke of the week was him stabbing the tie.
That's very funny.
It holds up as well as any other joke of the week this week.
Yeah.
It's there. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah.
Just
Which that was his stabbing. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Was my sentiment for this whole storyline.
mm-hmm.
He was all of us at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I mean though about this week, where it's like, oh, and then we got a tie. Like this has been in 78 other sitcoms. It really just felt like these guys did their homework on the bus coming into class this day. It was really kind of a bummer. And I will say the saving grace, and I don't mean to besmirch these guys too much, because there are good jokes littered throughout this episode. It's not that there was not good joke writing, but it did have this vaudeville quality of we're taking this premise that everybody knows and we're tacking our jokes on to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's not terrible, but I expect more from Cheers.
Yeah,
I felt like more from Cheers.
This episode felt like it was in somebody's suitcase as like a break glass in case of phone call kind of.
Yeah.
When you're brought into any writer's room and you can sort of shape it around those characters.
Yep.
I mean,
this could have been Barney Miller. This could have been a One Day at a Time. This could have been any number of sitcoms.
And I think it's a bummer that feeling is attached to Ernie Pantuso in some way, because that character is so it really does kind of I don't want to say haunt, because whatever the positive version of haunt is, I feel like that character and that spirit kind of still kind of hovers in that room, and it felt cheap that they attached that to this episode.
Yeah, and even the fact they made it her niece, and he makes a joke about Pantuso going to college, but then there's no other reference to Coach specifically, like with the family. It's just kind of none of that, where it's like, oh, all right, let's get a rich vein of, what's Coach's family like and why is she unique? And it's not there. Yeah, it's missing. So that is the A story. Coach's niece is moving to Boston to go to BU. Her dad has written Sam a letter saying basically, take care of her. If anything happens to her, I'm going to die. So puts that pressure on. And they decide that the safest thing that they can do with her for the day is to send her out with Woody, the safest man alive. And they do, and they start dating in this incredibly innocent way. And then at the end of the few days, they decide, of course, we're going to get married. Because that was what was in the script that they wrote before they ever got the Cheers assignment. Sam is shocked and has to put a stop to this and has a begging scene. And then they finally decide, all right, you know what? That's good. Yeah, it would have been a mistake. Instead, we're going to live together. And he freaks out again. And Diane freaks out. And she talks to them, and then she's not going to go to college, which is the worst thing Diane can imagine. And then finally they decide, okay, she's going to go to college, and maybe we'll just date a while. And then they leave. And then this relationship is never heard from again. This woman that Woody was ready to marry is never even referenced in another episode of Cheers.
Oh, you sound sick.
But the thing is, it's like, especially in these first 5 seasons, you feel like things are cohesive and there's a world building aspect to Cheers. And to bring her in and Woody's going to marry her, which does not feel like a thing Woody would do lightly. And it's like, they had the whole weight gain episode because he was feeling like you couldn't have sex with a woman, outside of wedlock. And then, we're going to live together. We're going to get married. As great as Woody Harrelson is, and as much as he locks his character into the storyline, it feels very random for Woody.
It was weird. It was a choice. It was very,
it's
inconsistent, rather.
It's really inconsistent with everything that we know about everybody in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's further weird because I feel like the writing does this. I don't think the performance is bad. I think Sidney McLean does a fine job as
none of the actors are bad. Yeah,
but they don't give her anything. There's no she could be anybody. There's nothing that makes her distinctly Pantuso. There's nothing that makes her distinctly appealing to Woody, other than maybe that she comes from a small town. But she's not given anything to sort of play as particularly like sort of like charming, like in that way, you know, it's sort of like, oh, this is a big city and I'm new to this. She's she's just not given anything to do. She's just kind of along for the ride for this episode,
which makes everything about it feel even more forced. Because they don't give us a moment where it's like, oh, this is why they're in love.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing there. There's nothing there. It is a plot point in search of a purpose.
Yeah, I don't know what they could have done to make it better, just because it
shouldn't have existed. It shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and if you're going to, it would be nice if, and it's hard because they've got a big cast that they have to deal with. And obviously I felt like they had a lot of good jokes for the cast members. And they're like, look at this, because there were a lot of moments that I laughed at, which it feels wrong to be critical of an episode that I did laugh at multiple times. You know, it's like, it's a sitcom. We did its job. I expect more from Cheers. I'm sorry. I expect more from Cheers. And even amidst the jokes, it's like, it stands out more because it's like, all right, you guys just brought in a plot to hang jokes on.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Like my joke of the week is, what would you say? Woody. Oh, your name, Joyce Woody. Oh, that's my first name, Woody. Like I laughed both times. That was my joke of the week. I liked it. I love the delivery. But yeah, it's like that could have been, again, it's a joke that could have been in any episode of Cheers. Like all the funny jokes could have been in any episode.
And there's definitely a way to build this episode in such a way that it doesn't, that you don't have to structure it around life-changing decisions that in a normal universe would have ramifications beyond these 24 minutes. You know, like there's a way to manufacture some sort of crisis that like doesn't necessarily involve getting engaged. I feel like
the cold open is a chance for you to have a B story at least.
Yeah.
The idea that she's gotten these tickets and what are their lives going to be like? You know, this is something that I love. Are you not going to come with me? Are you not going to try this? We can leave the bar for a little bit. Like, you know, just show Sam outside watching Taming of the Shrew. And what if it's Taming of the Shrew? Yeah. And he's actually finding himself liking it. And that bothers Diane. And what's their marriage going to be like? You've got like sort of this thing as they're going to get married. We couldn't spend a little bit more time with them.
Maybe it was a scheduling thing. I don't know. But it was a very just, again, inconsistent episode in terms of who these characters are that are already established.
Yeah. Just frustrating. All right, let's get through some categories here. We've already done our jokes of the week. Dave, what's your joke of the week?
This is in what is a very forgettable episode. This is one of my favorite jokes, I think, out of all. So, like, this is like maybe like a top 5 joke for me. I have a
funny feeling your joke. I'm going on a limb and saying your joke might be my 80s moment of the week. Go ahead.
Okay. It touches the edge of like a meta joke, and I laughed a lot both times. But just as when Coach's niece comes into the bar, Carla makes a couple of like pass by comments. I forget what the second. Oh, she calls Norma or she calls Cliff a foon or something. I couldn't quite decipher what that word.
Yeah.
And Coach's niece has been kind of like on the she hasn't been introduced to Carla, and finally, after like these drive-by jokes, she turns to Cliff and says, "Who is that?" And Cliff says, "No one knows." Like it was incredible. Like it was like revenge for Cliff.
Yeah.
It was also like on some level like a weird nod to like the idea that like, oh God, what if we are in a sitcom? For me, it just hit on every level. And it was a brilliant delivery by John Ratzenberger. I absolutely revere that one moment, like in Amber, out of this whole nonsense episode.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny as hell. Yeah.
That did not. I didn't even really catch that somehow. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough.
It's weird. It kind of burns on the audience too, because it gets like a laugh and then it quiets and then it kind of like builds up again as the audience kind of thinks about it, and then they get a great shot of just John Ratzenberger kind of considering that joke a little bit. It's a great weird little moment.
Nice. I don't know why. So my 80s moment that I thought you were gonna latch on to is when they're leaving and she says she wants to see old Ironsides. And Woody says, I'm not sure Raymond Burr's in town right now. That is my 80s moment of the week. And I can tell just from Tookie's look that it is an appropriate 80s moment. Yep.
What?
This is really the tail end of Raymond Burr being a cultural touch point. In particular, the fact that something other than Perry Mason was a part of his oeuvre.
I thought this was like one of Woody's random people from what's his name in Iowa.
Oh, I feel old. No, Raymond Burr. So he was most famous as the TV lawyer Perry Mason.
Okay.
Which was very famous sitcom from the 50s and 60s.
Right.
Not sitcom, I'm sorry, a legal show.
Like a drama.
Yeah, a legal drama. But he had 2 TV shows. And the other one was a successful show, but not nearly as big as Perry Mason. He played a character called Ironsides because he was a police officer who had been shot and paralyzed in the line of duty, and he had to use a wheelchair. So they called him Ironsides.
That's weird and ableist, kind of.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's okay.
That's what it was. But very believable that that's what police would do. That's what they would call someone who was in a wheelchair. Yeah.
So, wait, I'm shocked our law enforcement would stoop to this level. I, for one, cannot believe this.
Yeah.
What?
But this was at the end of, I feel like in the 80s, it wasn't even into the 90s really, where certain syndication packages still had, especially in the daytime on UHF, they showed those old hour-long dramas from the 60s back then, where you would have the old Mission Impossibles, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Ironsides.
Okay.
Those were still like syndicated in a way that kind of ended in the 90s. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that, to me, that was a very 80s moment.
Okay.
Yeah, that was absolutely my 80s moment as well, as like the last possible gasp of relevance for a a Raymond Burr joke.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine it coming up on Friends.
Not so much. Maybe a Perry Mason joke, just because they still have the TV movies in the late 80s, and those guys referenced 80s stuff a lot. But yeah, Ironsides was done. Like it was a reach when this came out in 86.
Yeah, I could feel a good chunk of Cheers' preferred demographic, which would have been like, I would imagine like men like 20 something to 35 going, I think I know that.
Yep. And I think I did not check this. I feel like this might be the first of 2 Ironsides Raymond Burr jokes in the Cheers canon. There's an episode where like Sam is supposed to be going with Robin and Kirstie Alley and Rebecca to this event at on Ironsides, and someone makes a Raymond Burr joke there too. I could be wrong, but I really feel like that happened.
I took it very literally in terms of the USS Constitution. And again,
that's what she was referencing. Yes.
Hanover in Indiana. Yeah, I thought it was one of Woody's people.
The very famous Raymond Burr.
No disrespect.
None.
I didn't.
Yep.
Whew.
There you go. All right. Took your 80s moments.
Yeah. And I consider myself someone who's relatively plugged into pop culture that spans a few decades, and that missed it. So one of my 80s moments, which is also kind of like a Boston / homophobia moment of the week, is Sam's reaction to Shakespeare and the fact that like at the time Shakespeare was still considered, for lack of a better terms, and I don't think this way, I promise, but fruity, if you will. Men in leotards jumping and stabbing each other. Just the thought of a man in a leotard and a man going to watch another man in a leotard. was an attitude of a time. Frasier receiving golf clubs. I don't know if it's so much an 80s not moment as it is a meme in terms of, oh, a gift for a man, golf clubs. There was a black woman at the bar, sitting at the bar in the first scene, and it looked like she had a cigarette in her hair. So I guess putting a cigarette in your hair.
I couldn't tell what that was.
I think it was a cigarette. So I think that was still moderately acceptable to a degree at that time.
Definitely, like cigarettes here, like behind your ear to smoke later, was a common thing.
Yeah. The letterhead that Father Pentuso used, that letterhead just seemed like something of days gone by. Very uncommon to see that in this day and age. That specific type of, because people just use lined paper, legal pads, whatever, if you're sending like a written letter. And naming your son Emil, also kind of in line with the men in leotards attitude towards things, which is like, Emil is not, I don't know, it's just a French name.
Emil, yep.
Yeah.
On a total tangent, I did a show the other day, and two of the kids that volunteered, one was named Gordon and one was named George. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is like classic name day. Love this. Come on up here. It really felt like it felt like I was doing a show in the 50s. It was great.
Instead of like an Aiden or Braden or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, God bless you. That's just generationally. And I'm not someone who's like, oh, Aiden, can we get some normal names? It's like, no, eight names change as generations go by. And thank God we're not doing a classroom full of 6 Michaels, which was my life when I was a kid in the 80s. But it was very much like, man, I have not seen 2 kids named Gordon and George in my life. And it was just really kind of fun and exciting. I'm like, and then like the next show, there was a kid named Frankie. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, okay.
We're doing it.
I have a second grader in one group named Linda, and I'm delighted every time I say her name.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah, I think there's sort of been this like shift lately, but it's also not, it's never not going to be weird to me to some degree to meet a baby named Estelle. Like it just, you know, like.
That was my closing joke for forever when I first started comedy.
Oh, really?
Giving my kids good, solid, elderly names. Yeah.
Oh, God.
If it's a boy, I wanted to name him Cecil. And if it's a girl, Esther. And just like I'm guaranteeing my children a long life.
Yeah. Those are some Cracker Barrel names for sure.
Yep. There you go. That was a solid closer for a long time.
Wow.
Whole bit around that. And you can learn more about that on Mike Dorval, We Need to Talk. Available on CD, on Amazon, possibly. All right. Tookie, how white was this week's episode?
You know, okay. It could, how do I phrase this? This is complicated. Because they did a good enough job of packing the bar.
Okay.
You know, people were dispersed, but it was all repeat extras. So only a couple new folks were peppered in from time to time between scenes. And at one point, they switched one extra sweater with a white guy. I don't know if you noticed, between scenes 2 and 3.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Man, the budget was tight all over on this week's episode.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so in the cold open, we had a black man who was with his back to the camera, but I could tell by the wine door, and another black man sitting at the bar in the cold open. Scene 1, we had a black woman who was sitting at the black woman with the cigarette in her hair that was just kind of dangling in her hair. And I'm like, props department, you are not doing our people justice. A black man in the hallway, a black woman by the jukebox, a black woman by the upper booth. In scene 2, it was all repeats there. And then a new black couple that was added in sitting behind, I believe it was Frasier at the time, a black man who passed behind Sam, and an Asian woman at the piano. Scene 3, it was all repeats. And scene 4, there was a black man who passed by Diane, a black man who came down the stairs, a black woman who passed behind Fraser, and an Asian woman sitting in the upper booth. Scene 5, it looked like a black woman entered. It was a repeat extra of the same woman with the cigarette, and that was about it. So all in all, looks like 14 extras.
Feels like a long time since a person of color has had a line on the show too.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I think since the courtroom scene.
Wow, that long?
It's been
I
a minute.
think so.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
All right. I think unless somebody else has something to add, we're ready to put this one to bed. I'll
just say one thing I like about this episode in more of like a theoretical way, not even theoretical, but like a thing I was able to sort of glean enjoyment from. I like when Sam is forced to play somebody who's wrestling with his sort of generational growth, like he's becoming somebody sort of out of touch, as he's becoming sort of like a dad figure. I feel like the show leans into that even more, and in this sort of like fading athlete, like fading Lothario. What this is kind of pathetic sort of thing that it's going to lean into that post Diane a little bit more. But it was kind of fun to see him in this, to see him play that part in a way that wasn't connected to anything romantic around him. Sort of in the 3 Men and a Baby kind of vibe that he's going to play in the film. I don't know, that was kind of fun. It wasn't, I wouldn't recommend this episode for that, but it was an interesting side to that character and felt consistent.
Yes. Well said. Ted Danson was, he's Ted Danson.
Yeah.
He was very good in this episode. They all did what they could.
Wait, was Becker a ripoff of Ironsides?
No.
Okay.
Was Becker in a wheelchair?
Oh, wait. No. Damn, now I'm ableist. Jesus. I'm getting people's disabilities mixed up. Sorry.
No problem.
Wait, well, I didn't know Becker had any sort of condition.
Was he not in a wheelchair, or was he just visually impaired?
No, I don't think he was either of them. I think he was just cranky.
What?
He might have had IBS.
Okay. What? No, we need to look this up. This is going to haunt me.
All right.
I could have sworn Becker had something going on. I don't know.
I cannot claim to be a devotee of Becker.
So few Americans can.
Yeah.
I just know it was one of those shows that was like a signal, like, oh, it's bedtime when it came on.
Yeah. I do not see any condition associated to Becker on Wikipedia beyond, quote, misanthropy.
Ah, okay. I thought
Yep.
he was, this whole time, I thought he, okay. All right, never mind.
So I will say not connected in any way, literal or spiritual, to the Ironsides universe.
Noted. What the hell show am I thinking of? Oh, God. All right. I think we're good.
But this feels like an appropriate introduction to our announcement. We have loved bringing you every episode of Cheers since the pandemic began. We've enjoyed it. We enjoy spending time with each other weekly. And we have made the decision that we are going to be wrapping up Norm with the end of the Shelley Long era, with the end of season 5. We've been previewing later seasons, and I enjoy them. I think we all enjoy them. I don't think they're going to hold up to the weekly scrutiny that the first 5 weeks have. And so we've made that decision. We will be wrapping up this Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't with I Do a Do. But fret not and dry your tears, because we are still going to be getting together every week, because a sub-theme of this podcast that isn't has been, look, Tookie is a brilliant woman. Very, very funny. We could not love her anymore.
Honestly, like so much smarter than you and I. Like it's not even.
And yet, cinematically, she has never left the house.
it's
It's shocking. Like every time we reference a movie, whatever the movie is, we're like, remember that movie? Remember the scene in that movie, Tookie? She's like, no, I haven't seen that. And it's every movie. It's incredible. Every movie, Tookie's like, no, not yet. That's on the list. When I get out to the movies for the first time, that's one of the movies I'm considering. And one of our favorite things during these 5 seasons has been to say, hey, here's a movie, you should really watch it and you'll love it. And when Tookie does love it, it's just, it brightens the entire day and we get to talk about it. And I almost wish that instead of talking about Cheers that episode, we could just talk about Midnight Run et al. And we have decided that that is what we are going to do. Dave just flashed a gigantic list of movies in case you think, oh, this isn't going to hold up very long. Oh, bite your ass. We have got so many movies that Tookie has never seen. And we are going to be doing it in our new podcast that is actually going to be a podcast. We also decided that. When we began this, Facebook Live was a bigger thing than it is now. So we are going to be leaving the metaverse, although we're hopefully going to still have a viewing possibility of some sort where we're going to, it'll stream on YouTube or Facebook or something, but also stressing the podcast because many people have asked us like, hey, I've gone on Spotify or I went on Apple Podcasts to listen to you guys. And the functionality of this has just been a viewing thing. So we want to do something that people can listen to audio, can listen to in the car. And our working title currently is Mike and Dave Make Tookie Watch Movies. So it is going to be some movie. It is going to be a movie that Dave and I love, either because it's a brilliant movie, like The Godfather, which Tookie has not seen, or just a brilliantly, delightfully bad movie that is, we understand is not great cinema, but delights us nonetheless, and we know Tookie will love, such as the cinematic classic Roadhouse, which somehow Tookie had never seen either. It's going to be movies that we absolutely love, that we think Tookie might love, and we get to experience them with Tookie together.
It's almost like Tookie, because Mike and I both have children of our own, but Mike and I both kind of fumbled the bag because our kids both have opinions and tastes that adhere to their own kind of personal styles and worldviews. Yep. So we're trying to, I guess. So we're trying to
whatever independent thoughts were.
So we're trying to get a redo on our parenting, just in terms of like showing the films that mean something to us, to a receptive, intelligent, and caring person, not like our terrible kids.
Exactly. Tookie is our second chance.
Oh no! I think this is good. I don't know.
It'll be great. It'll be great. We have not, because luckily Tookie is on board with this, because we have never steered Tookie wrong. Everything we have introduced Tookie to, Tookie has, I think, consistently enjoyed. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No.
Columbo, you're a total stan for Columbo now.
Yes.
Midnight Run.
Thoroughly
loved it.
Yep.
What else did we make you watch?
The inaugural episode of this pod. I just finished that film. The aforementioned Roadhouse.
Ah, yes. Roadhouse, which you could not have loved anymore.
It was, Chekhov's monster truck.
There you go. There you go.
Love that.
Brilliant. And I think we're going to try to alternate. Yeah. So some of them will just be brilliant movies that she's never seen. Some of them will just be really fun movies that we've never seen. For every Roadhouse, there will be a Godfather.
Okay.
That's there's the merch right there.
Right. There will be an All the President's Men.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that might be our first T-shirt.
Am I allowed to make?
There's a Godfather.
Am I allowed to make the occasional suggestion?
Of course.
Because I've been dying to see basketball, and
nah.
Wow. I saw that on VHS. I remember.
Nah. Because here's the thing. I'm not saying you can't watch basketball, but in terms of the theme of the movie,
Okay.
it doesn't make sense if it's not a movie that Dave and I both love for some reason.
All right.
Like, we're trying to show you movies that you're going to love. And I'd be shocked if you love basketball. You might love it in that no retreat, no surrender way where you're like, what a piece of shit this is. But I never want to rewatch basketball. That's the thing.
I'm cool with rewatching all of the Bob Costas parts.
Yeah, the Bob Costas line. But when Bob Costas and Al Michaels, but that's a supercut. That's a YouTube supercut right there. So yes, absolutely make suggestions. But to me, for the framework to go, it's got to be a movie that we're very excited to rewatch and have you watch for the first time.
Okay.
And like basketball would not fall into that. Airplane would fall into that. Also made by the same makers.
What about Mannequin?
No.
I will 100% watch Mannequin.
But Dave, we would make fun of that though. You wouldn't consider that in the same. I'm open to being wrong about this. Would you put Mannequin in that same class?
I feel like I feel like I view that movie in a certain way because it came out at a time when I was not interested in romantic comedies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was probably 11 or 12, and that didn't seem like the film I wanted to see. So I'd be interested in kind of approaching that movie with fresh eyes.
Mm.
Plus, I love me some Ali Sheedy.
Ali Sheedy, not a great role in that movie. Yeah, Kim Cattrall, Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah.
Very 80s.
And friend of the show, Emmy Service's cousin, apparently. Her cousin plays somebody. And he's also the voice of the dad from Dinosaur, the TV show.
Yeah. I would invite you to check out Mannequin.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to hold up to scrutiny.
Oh, no. It's a piece of
like,
ass.
If we're doing it, I want it to be a movie where I'm like, oh, this part was great. Oh, I love this.
Okay.
I don't want to do a movie that's going to feel like the movie version of today's episode of Cheers.
Oh, God. Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, look,
Ouch.
There's some stuff in here, but this never needs to happen again. To me, that's Mannequin.
All right. Okay. I'll oblige.
Me, that is Mannequin.
I will oblige.
Yeah, and I don't want this to just be like Boys Club because I'm very excited for Dirty Dancing, one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely, and we are open to suggestions. I would love to. I think we might throw the list up on the Facebook page so that people can do that and also make suggestions to add to it.
Sorry, I missed part of that sentence. It cut off. Did you say Boys Club or Breakfast Club?
No, Boys Club. Although Breakfast Club, I would be willing. I said I don't want the movie this to feel like just a total boys club, where it's all boy dominated, like nothing but Predator and Commando.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm very excited to show Dirty Dancing, and a host of other films. And Breakfast Club would certainly be on there. I would think 16 Candles might be one that I would consider, although parts of it have aged very poorly. But I think it might be worth talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was a very big movie from our youth, as was Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Breakfast Club. Now, here's the thing about something like the Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club, I enjoyed a lot younger. I really dislike that movie actively now.
Oh, wow.
That's been an interesting journey for me, is enjoying that as a kid because I was like, yeah, this. And that movie has aged particularly badly.
Really? Okay.
So I would be open to that being on there. But again, I don't feel like, to me, I want them all to be movies that I'm excited to show you. I want it all to be like, oh, like if we were having a movie night, I would be really excited to bring this movie with me and have you watch it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And as big a part of the Breakfast Club was for our youth, I wouldn't be super psyched to show you the Breakfast Club.
Okay, because I thought I haven't seen it, but like, isn't it the Gen X movie? Because so many references.
And that's why maybe it is one that we should do. It is a huge cultural touchstone. Huge cultural touchstone. But and I don't know if anyone has seen it recently, but I have, and I was like, ugh.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
finished it, and I was like, I might never need to see this again.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, I remember I stumbled on it a couple years ago, kind of mid-pandemic, and yeah, that movie might be the one I've seen. Weirdly, I think I might have seen that movie more than any other.
Hmm.
And yeah, then I'd gone about 20 years without seeing it, and it holds an uncomfortable mirror up to what we thought was great in 1980 whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
boy.
it's just, we've all become Vice Principal Vernon. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. Weird viewing situation.
Yeah, I'd be into exploring that one.
Yeah. So that would be one for discussion where it's like
Okay.
we could, but it's definitely it wouldn't fall under the heading of I can't wait to show Tookie this movie.
Fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yep.
Well, our loyal viewers and slash semi partial listeners, I guess, viewer listeners. Yeah, I mean, everybody, throw some suggestions at us on the page.
Throw them out there. Throw them out there, and we will listen. Oh, 3 Men and a Baby. We referenced in this one. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Oh, of course not. Dave, put that on the list. 3 Men and a Baby, absolutely. That should probably be an early one for us because it's Ted Danson. It's a natural.
Oh yeah.
Because he's probably filming it as he's filming these episodes that we're finishing up on.
Really?
We should pick one Ted Danson and one Shelley Long film.
Night Shift would be the Shelley Long film.
Oh,
so I referenced Money Pit a bunch, but because my mom loved that movie.
Yes.
And I saw clips, and she had the VHS, and she would always rewind and show me the scene of the big hole in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never actually seen the movie in its entirety. So I don't know.
Oh, fantastic. We've got to put both of those on there.
Okay. Because I really don't know what it's about. Other than a gigantic hole in a floor.
Yeah. It's people who buy a house that they think they're getting a great deal on, and then the nightmare of fixing up a house. Yeah. It's every house flipping show extended out to 90 minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm a fan of HGTV and home decor, so I think
and the brilliant Alexander Goodenough.
And
of Die Hard fame.
And of course, one of America's favorite comedic actors, one of the most acclaimed performers in motion picture history, and Tom Hanks.
Nice.
Perfect. You've seen Die Hard though, right?
I've seen clips, just not in its entirety.
Die Hard.
I really haven't seen any.
It's amazing.
I haven't seen a damn thing. It's
Die
terrible.
Hard, Casablanca. Put Casablanca on there.
Yeah, haven't seen Casablanca. A certain someone in my house, this guy who lives in my house, who I love or whatever, made sure I saw Citizen Kane. So I've seen Citizen Kane. He made sure of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's slacking on many others, but at least he got Citizen Kane in there.
Yeah.
Very good. Have you Goodfellas?
No.
Wow. Whew.
All right,
Ray Liotta for 5 years.
I don't know what I was doing.
It's great.
So excited to see these movies again.
I know, right? That's the thing. That I want it to all be movies that I'm really excited to watch again. Like Mannequin would feel like a chore. I want it all to be movies I'm excited to watch and excited to show Tookie.
It wouldn't be a labor of love, Mike?
No.
Oh.
No. Labor. Labor. We're giving birth to a child I never wanted.
Damn. I mean, don't tell that to the Supreme Court, but
there you
go.
Ooh.
Happily put Mannequin and Mannequin 2 on the move up for adoption.
I saw Mannequin 2, just not the first.
How did you see Mannequin 2 and not Mannequin?
Because the other one's not available for streaming.
Man.
I gotta get a VPN to watch the OG Mannequin.
Showing Mannequin 2 and not Mannequin.
I think Kim Cattrall managed to successfully bury that for streaming.
Do you have Netflix?
No. I just have to get a
the
VPN.
Walmart generic version of Netflix.
I don't have the Netflix, no.
The great value brand of streaming.
Dollar General's in-house brand of streaming programming. I get it.
So many movies, so many great movies. And that's the thing where I'm like, there's so many amazing movies Tookie has never seen that I'm like, I can't waste a week on Mannequin. We don't have that week to give.
Mannequin will be our Patreon, our bonus content.
Paywall content. Okay.
Yeah, people need to pay us for Mannequin. If you pony up, I'll watch Mannequin again. That should be, if we do start a Patreon, that should be one of the things. It's like, I'm going to list all the movies where I'm like, fuck this movie. And pick a number where you can make me watch it.
Ah! Oh, I'm dying.
That would be one of our Patreon categories.
Okay.
Where it's a movie I have to watch. That could be a whole other podcast we do called Fuck This Movie. I'm ready.
Well, I think at least you guys will have empathy for me because the same certain someone is occasionally making me sit through the reboot of Beavis and Butthead on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, well, that's just marriage, Tookie.
I'm having a horrible time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I used to watch that show with my grandmother.
Nice.
Yeah, when it came on occasionally. And it was funny to me when I was 8.
Yeah.
It's not funny to me now.
It's not something that is in my wheelhouse of classic viewing.
No.
All right. Do we have anything to plug this week?
Do we?
You can come see Indecent at the Wilbury Theater by Paula Vogel. It opens, I think, a week from Saturday. Is our first
exciting
performance? I think. I think. Next week I think we open. So, anyway, we're going to run through the first week of May. So, come check it out. It's a great play.
All right, we're going to try to make it down for that one.
And I will be hosting the Saturday show for Mike Kaplan at Off Cabot in Beverly.
Lovely.
Yeah.
That's a fun evening to catch.
It will be grand.
All right. Until then, gear up. We've got a few more episodes of Norm to finish off in grand fashion. 4 strong coming up. Although, was one of those a 2-parter? Are we doing 3 more or are we doing 4 more?
I don't think any of them is a 2-parter.
Oh.
4 strong coming up.
Okay.
All right. We've got it.
Enjoy
every last remaining morsel on the bone of Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. Until then, I'm Mike. That's Dave. That's Tookie. We're going to miss you. Bye, everybody.